All major events in history can be linked in conjunction to a single figure who comes up predominantly whenever a major event is mentioned. No figure fits this definition than the most radical man of the revolutionaries during the French Revolution, Maximillian Robespierre. So let's answer the question. Who is Robespierre? What were some of the major decisions and or events that he had a say in, and how is he remembered today? First off, let's get behind the man of the French Revolution, Maximilien Robespierre himself. Let's set the scene. May 6, 1758, Arras, France. A boy was born to the name Maximilien Francois Marie Isidore de Robespierre. Robespierre led a gloomy childhood with the death of his mother and complete abandonment by his father. One could say Robespierre had a rocky start to life. Life began to change for Robespierre after he moved to focus onto education, joining the College of Oratorians at Arras, where he focused on law and philosophy. While this schooling eventually led him to acquire a law degree, Robespierre got something far more important: exposure to the Enlightenment ideas. His political career started when he became a lawyer and wrote Memoirs sur les peines infamants, which reports on the punishments in the criminal system during the 1780s. In the late 1780s, he was well regarded as being for the Third Estate and against royal absolutism. This public image is what most likely allowed him to be chosen by the Third Estate of France to be one of their representatives. Due to this prominent role in politics, he became the head of a political group known as the Jacobins, and by 1790, the Secretary of the National Assembly. After some time in politics, his policies started to become more tyrannical in the sense that they restricted basic rights given to the people. However, he gained popularity again due to his newspaper Defense of the Constitution, that housed his ideals of a less violent revolution and his stance on the war with Austria. However, later Robespierre would start the Reign of Terror, causing everyone in France to despise him. This and his weakening health with the writing on the wall for Robespierre's reign to end. After an attempt to jail him failed, Robespierre and his supporters knew that they were most likely going to be tried and killed for their actions. Declared an outlaw by the National Convention, Robespierre attempted to kill himself with a pistol shot to the jaw, but failed, leaving him to die in front of a cheering mob on July 28th in Place de la Concorde. Now that we know who Robespierre is, let's take a look at the decisions and or events he played a role in. Robespierre obviously played a huge role in the French Revolution as a whole, but most importantly, smaller major events that are a part of the revolution. First off, he introduced the Declaration of the Rights of Man of the Citizen, which was used to help construct the French Constitution of September 3rd, 1791. On top of that, he wanted and pushed for universal suffrage, unrestricted admission into the National Guard, public offices, to commission ranks of the army, and for the right to petition. Another decision he made was the decision to hasten the vote on the Constitution so as to attract as many of the Democratic Party as possible and institute what martial law. He also started a newspaper emphasizing how going to war with Austria and Prussia was a terrible idea and pushing his radical ideas. Amongst other decisions, on July 27, 1793, when he took his place on the Committee of Public Safety, he strove to stop divisions in the revolutionaries by removing those who did not agree with the Jacobins. This is where the Reign of Terror started and eventually led to 300,000 suspected enemies of the revolution being arrested, at least 10,000 dying in prison, and 17,000 were officially executed. On June 4th, 1794, when Robespierre was elected President of the National Assembly, he put policies into place that led to 1,400 enemies of the revolution being guillotined in a month. All of his actions speak louder than his true beliefs, and similarly, his actions were far more radical too. This leaves us to determine one final question. How was Maximilien Robespierre remembered? Obviously, the answer to the question is not very well. The major reasons for this are the mass executions known as the Reign of Terror, the restrictive laws he put in place, and his inconsistency between his ideals and his policies. This all led up to his unpopularity with the French people. However, it should be noted, without Robespierre's power climb, France would not move on to experience the Napoleonic era. So in hindsight, Maximilien Robespierre was a terrible but crucial man to the French Revolution and the Enlightenment period.